keep passing because they don't want to overdraft. Do you like the quarterback? Forget the rating. As long as the rating is within a range, you feel like we're okay here. At least we know he can play and we like him. Because, hey, at 20, 27, 36, that's still a pretty good grade. There's still some guys that were really good that these guys were rated ahead of. So I think that's where the Browns are. And I don't understand analytics at all, guys. I have no clue what analytics is because they drafted David Njoku, who had 8 games. That's it. He was a third-year sophomore. 8 games where he caught some passes this year and did some nice things, not a blocker. Jabril Peppers, obviously, you think about the versatility, but hasn't defined a role. I like him, but he hasn't defined a role. So I don't get the analytics part of it and not having a quarterback and letting other teams jump in that thought those quarterbacks were pretty good. Last year they passed on Prescott like 8 times. Well, everybody did, so you can't say they're the only one, but they passed 8 times. Now they pass on Watson. They passed on Wentz. They didn't make the move to get Trubisky after they took Garrett when the Chicago Bears did make that move one spot up. So at some point in time, guys, you got to have a really good quarterback. They don't right now. They can make all the picks they want. They can accumulate all the picks they want. It's not going to matter unless you have a quarterback.
So the teams today getting ready for the second round to start, who are some of the players that are saying, wow, I can't believe this guy is still on the board for us?
Mike, I'll tell you, I was thinking today, as I was sitting here, I was thinking, okay, some of these second rounders will be are really better than the first rounders. And I'll give you an example. Forrest Lamp was a better left tackle. Now, he's going to be a guard or center than Garrett Bowles was. Zay Jones was equally as good a wide receiver as any of these guys coming out of East Carolina. Kevin King, the cornerback, equally as good or better than Marlon Humphrey this year. Cam Robinson, offensive tackle, Alabama, he was a 3-year starter. Ryan Ramczyk was a 1-year guy starting at Wisconsin. Okay, you think about DeMarcus Walker at Florida State. I think more productive and more versatile than some of the other defensive linemen. Buda Baker, an outstanding defensive back out of Washington. We still have it. I don't think everybody's getting only about running backs. How many running backs went in the first round, guys? I didn't think it was 3, 4, or 5. It was 2. So, and one's an X factor. He's not a true running back. It's Christian McCaffrey. So all these running backs, led of course by Dalvin Cook, are there. Malik McDowell, who was kind of the enigma. He was a top 5, top 10 pick going into the year. Struggled, didn't play well, underachiever. He's still on the board. Defensive lineman out of Michigan State. And Tyus Bowser, outside linebacker out of Houston. I know Louis Riddick said to me going into yesterday that Bowser, he had heard, could go pretty high. Well, he's still here, and he's got a lot of talent. He's a pass rusher. Marcus May, the safety from Florida. Josh Jones, safety at NC State. Chris Wormley, defensive lineman out of Michigan. These are some of the players that are there, and we're going to see that today what happens if Joe Mixon, running back out of Oklahoma, does in fact come off the board second or third round when, evidently, Adam Schefter's been saying, I'm sure he'll say tonight, there's a lot of teams that have taken him off their board. So we'll see if Joe Mixon goes tonight on night 2 of the draft.
Yep, second round and third round tonight. The coverage starts at 7 Eastern on ESPN, then moves, to ESPN2 when the NBA playoffs start at 8 o'clock. And obviously, Mel will be right in the middle of all of it. Another terrific job, Mel. Thank you so much. We'll be watching over the weekend, and we'll check in with you on Monday. Thank you.
You got it, guys. Enjoy it tonight. See you guys.
That's Mel Kiper. And again, Mike, I know you were obviously watching someplace where you could hear the sound. I was in a restaurant last night, so we had it on, obviously, and we were following everything that happened, but I couldn't hear what Mel was saying, but I saw that Twitter just went crazy about Mel's opening comments.
Was hot. Absolutely hot, and again, the thought of Trubisky possibly going 1 and not Myles Garrett, he just started going off on people ripping the tape and saying he doesn't hustle. As he said right here, you could find that, in other players as well.
Would you agree with that? And, you could, if you wanted to find tape that looked like that, because the tape that we saw last night looked bad.
Listen, it did look bad. And I'm not saying you could find it always that bad, but you can find non-hustle plays from a lot of players, no doubt about that. But when the non-hustle plays were shown of him, they did not look good. I completely agree with that. But his upside is to me, is too much upside. He is and should have been the number 1 pick in the draft. And again, we go to a defensive coordinator who is an in-your-face guy, who is an attacking guy. So I think it all can work positively to help his game going forward.
All right, Roger Goodell is on the way. The commission will be here in 20 minutes. Carson Wentz, the quarterback of the Eagles, is on his way as well. As we continue live from Philadelphia this morning after a word from Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club, the smarter choice. You no longer have to schlep to the store to buy a cheap disposable razor that will give you a cheap shave.
And when you use the DSC Executive Razor with their Dr. Carver shave butter, the blade just gently glides, giving you such a smooth shave. For a limited time, new members can get their first month of the Executive Razor with a tube of their Dr. Carver shave butter for only $5 with free shipping. After that, razors are just a few bucks a month. You can only get this offer exclusively at dollarshaveclub.com/Mike. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Mike. We're back after this on Mike and Mike.
If you get up early to get more done, if you believe hard work makes you stronger, don't settle for anything less than the hardest working, smoothest riding side-by-side ever built. Polaris Rangers help you haul more, pull more, dump more, and make more of your free time when the work is done. Polaris Ranger, like you, we're driven to do more. And now's the time to get up to $1,200 cash back during the Polaris Spring Sales Event.
7 ingredients. Wonder what they are.
Corrosion inhibitor.
Solvent fluid.
Demulsifier.
Fuel detergent number 1.
Fuel detergent number 2.
Anti-adhesion compound.
And marker molecules.
Get better gas mileage with Synergy. Exxon and Mobil. Energy lives here.
$5 for a large, hot and ready classic every day? Mm-hmm. Let me read the fine print. Oh my, that is very fine.
Get a large hot and ready classic for just $5 every single day. Little Caesars.
Pizza.
Why pause a spontaneous moment? Cialis for daily use treats ED and the urinary symptoms of BPH. Tell your doctor about your medicines and ask if your heart is healthy enough for sex. Do not take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain or Adempas for pulmonary hypertension, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Do not drink alcohol in excess. To avoid long-term injury, get medical help right away for an erection lasting more than 4 hours. If you have a sudden decrease or loss of hearing or vision or an allergic reaction, stop taking Cialis and get medical help right away. Ask your doctor about Cialis.
Hi, my name is Tom.
I'm Raph.
My name is Ann.
I'm one of the real live attorneys
you can talk to through LegalZoom.
Don't let unanswered legal questions hold you up.
Because we're here.
We're here.
And we've got your back.
LegalZoom. Legal help is here.
End of civilization.
As we proceed to give you what you need.
Why'd you take a role with the Lakers?
If I'm Jimmy Garoppolo, I want to be the heir to the throne. That boy can have his own money. If you drive a Maserati, I got paper too.
Okay, and I'm happy to take it.
Man, we playing down with Ice Cube.
You got to do it. But here's the thing is that if you're the type of person that dishes it out, you better be the type of person that can take it. No,
Family safe with home safety products from Kidde. Right now, over 45 stock Kidde home safety products are on sale. This general use fire extinguisher is only $12.99. This smoke alarm features a 10-year sealed-in lithium battery with smart hush feature, just $14.99. Protect your basement and belongings with a Barracuda battery backup sump pump system. The battery pump kicks on if power goes out or your main pump fails. Get it for $99 now during Menards Spring Catalog Sale.
Save big money at Menards.
Wake up in the morning, love. The sunlight hurts my eyes. Then I look at you. It's all right.
With me. Just one look at you.
And I know it's gonna be a lovely day. Lovely day.
All right, Mike and some of the Twitter reaction here this morning. David tweets, would you agree the draft was going to be defensive-centered until the Bears made the move to go on the offensive side and everyone else then followed suit?
No. I don't believe because that happened, because that's not why 3 wide receivers went in the top 10 picks or the top 9 picks, quite honestly. I just think when you look at it, it's such a deep defensive draft and grades can be close that teams felt we're going to get our offensive players now because there's more of a top-heavy group of offensive players, then it falls off. So defensive players, I mean, as I said, 8 defensive backs went in the first round, and plenty more are going to go in the next few rounds in the rest of this draft. So you feel you can wait a little longer to get some of the defensive players.
From a fan here in Philadelphia, Joseph tweets, critical of the pick does not equal being critical of the player. Just feel that there were other better picks at 14, referring to the Eagles taking Derek Barnett. I don't know. He's not a guy who got a lot of talk leading up to the draft through the process, but everything you hear about him, and again, I would defer to you, is that he's a very similar player to the guy who went number 1 overall.
Plus, a lot goes by need. What did they need? They needed secondary guys. Who went after it? You see Marlon Humphrey went after that at corner, and Adoree Jackson. Did you want to go that route? If you went a corner, they needed a running back. Dalvin Cook's still on the board. He didn't go at all after the first 2 running backs went. So what did you need? You got Chris Long. You got Jernigan as well, a couple of D linemen that came over to the team. So I can see what some people are saying, and they don't know a lot about him, but it's very difficult to turn down a pass rusher. A guy that can get to the quarterback. So I do like the pick.
I do too. I think it's one that you get excited about. It's just funny. Some of the more traditionally splashy moves are not being met with great enthusiasm by the fan bases that made them. Let's pause 10 seconds. Mike, our Sports Center brought to you by Scott's Turf Builder Weed and Feed. April means it's time for baseball, so get an MLB quality lawn with the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. Spring is here. Pick up a bag of Scott's Lawn Food today. This is a Scott's Yard. We're live in Philadelphia. Again, round 1 of the NFL Draft. Last night, rounds 2 and 3. Tonight, you'll see it on ESPN. We'll have coverage on ESPN Radio as well. The Commissioner, Roger Goodell, will be here with us in just a few minutes. And then the local quarterback, Carson Wentz, will be here too. A couple of things on the topics of the day. C. George tweets at us, why is it okay for one and done in hoops, but if a guy skips his last couple of college football games, it's the end of the world? Again, those are not comparable situations,
not comparable
but if someone is bringing it up, perhaps we should explain why.
Well, as I said, I understand why somebody wants to do it. I would have never done it, but that doesn't mean others certainly can't do it. It's their choice. And again, we're talking about Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey skipping their bowl games when seemingly healthy. Fournette had the ankle all year and such, but just skipping that last game in December, or last game I should say, usually in November sometime, and then the bowl game toward the end of December, to skip that time and start training for the draft, and because it didn't hurt their draft pick and draft status at all, I do fear you will see that more. I'm not an overly big fan of it, and I think for the most part there's going to be very few players. But when they're named players, it makes headlines. But when you put it against all the other players, let's start listing all the other players that went in the first round and guys that played in their bowl game. So it's a very, very, very small amount. But will that number grow more, seeing that it didn't have an effect? They didn't, they didn't put themselves in harm's way, and NFL teams didn't look at them cross-eyed for it. So, as I said, my worry is, does it go into the regular season, where then maybe it will get looked at cross-eyed by the NFL, but I don't know if it will. The NFL is like, hey, give us the product, man. Whatever you did in college, so be it. How does your game work in the NFL? And if we think it works well, then we're going to take you according to that.
And again, just to juxtapose it with the one and done in college basketball, those are guys who play an entire season.
Exactly.
Yes. If they go after the year, these would be players, if you want to accuse them of it, I don't have an issue with what they did, but you could accuse them of abandoning their team before the season is over. I don't view it that way, but I could see that. Clearly the one and done is not the same thing. Michael tweets, Deshaun Watson can do what Savage can do. Let the kid play and build experience. They can win 10 games with either, and maybe even more with Watson.
You have no idea about that. You have no idea about that at all, and it's a difficult offense to learn. But, hey, listen, if Deshaun Watson picks it up quickly and he's playing better than Tom Savage, then so be it. Then we'll see. But you don't just put Deshaun Watson in there and say he's your starter. If you want to say there's a competition, they're not even going to do that. They're going to tell you Tom Savage is the starter of this football team, and then they'll see how Deshaun Watson comes along. They'll see what he picks up in OTAs. They'll see what he picks up in minicamp, and then when they get back for training camp, they'll see where he is and put him in accordingly. But this will start out as Tom Savage, the starting quarterback.
Can I ask a crazy question?
Yeah.
Are they done at quarterback now?
Oh, no, I don't know if they are.
Do they go out and sign a veteran?
It wouldn't shock me.
Me neither.
It would not shock me
Even
at
after
all.
making a huge move and giving up everything they did to get Watson, he is still the future. He's not necessarily the present.
And the present, they can win in the present. They have the ability, with the defense they have and the weapons on offense, to win right now. So would it shock me at all? No. Not a bit.
Cutler, of course, is the name that probably would jump to mind. He would be the guy that would be available. And then DEGH, I don't know what this is supposed to be, as a Twitter handle, tweets, bowl games are a vestige of a bygone era. The college football playoff will likely expand, and bowl games will continue to be rendered meaningless. Do you agree with that? If the college playoff eventually goes to 8, which you have been in favor of for as long as I've known you, you're going to take even more.
Couple more.
Right now, there are a few. One would think it would actually. Would that not make it 4 more games if they didn't? If they just spread it out? If you literally just added one layer of playoffs.
There's 4 teams right now, so 2 bowl games. So 4 more teams is 2 more bowl games.
4 more teams would be 2 more. You would have
to start out. You start out with 2 bowl games with the 4 teams, then you're down to the.
But doesn't that add 1 more in the next round also? Right? You go from 8 to 4. So you have. You're going to add some larger number of bowl games to it. I think it's more than 2. This is how ridiculously bad.
All right, you're going to add a few more. There's 40-some bowl games.
No, I get that.
Bowl game. I don't know what the point is.
Well, the point is that the ones we still think of as somewhat meaningful are the one that are not college football playoff games, are played on New Year's Day and the week that continues. Once those all become, if they all become playoff games, then will it make the others seem even less meaningful, and thus will we see players skipping them left and right?
I don't think the others can seem less meaningful than they already do. So, no, I don't agree with that at all. And I don't know. I liked staying there and finishing up my college career. And a lot's changed, though, obviously, since I've been in college. So, like I said, I understand their thought process. I don't necessarily agree with it. But these are new times, and you have a lot more people in these guys' ears talking about, hey, maybe you should do this for this reason or this for that reason. But I think it's difficult to render the bowl games any more meaningless than from a perspective of what it can do for that team outside of the 15 practices. Quite honestly, I can get more into that when we have some time on how I think the bowl games will help some of these teams and their young players.
We are Mike and Mike. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. The commissioner of the NFL, Roger Goodell, live here next. Stay there.
This is the Schmidt's yard. And, oh, Schmidt, that's a lot of dirt. But there's plenty of time for Scott's Outdoor Cleaner plus OxyClean to work its magic. All while being safe to use around plants and grass. Guaranteed. This is a Scott's yard.
7 ingredients. Wonder what they are.
Corrosion inhibitor.
Solvent fluid.
Demulsifier.
Fuel detergent number 1.
Fuel detergent number 2.
Anti-adhesion compound.
And marker molecules.
Get better gas mileage with Synergy. Exxon and Mobil. Energy lives here.
Take your time, take your time, take your time. No need to hurry. Take it easy, take it easy, take it easy. No need to hurry. No slipping, no sliding.
The Corona can always finds its beach.
Mom, good. Got your attention. Did you know Capri Sun doesn't have all that artificial stuff you think it has?
And they have organic, too. Get those kids some Capri Sun, Mom.
It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you our new ESPN mascot, Baby Groot. He's really being embraced by our staff.
He's just not that cute. I mean, he looks like a dog chew toy or something. I love him.
Whatever you do, do not touch that button. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
What do you think about ESPN's new mascot?
Oh, my man, Baby Groot. Wait.
I am Groot.
Get to Golden Corral for our Meat Lovers Spectacular. On weekdays, enjoy portobello mushroom sirloin, tender baby back ribs, and more. Choose from over 150 buffet favorites, all for one low price. It's the Meat Lovers Spectacular, only at Golden Corral.
We
are not here to observe, to sit idly by, or watch from the stands. We are here for one reason, to leave a mark. Lexus High Performance with 5-liter V8s and Sport Direct shift transmissions. Experience a shift in the natural order. Experience amazing.
Why do we put so much effort into engineering the Can-Am Defender? Because a job worth doing is worth doing right. Can-Am Defender. Tough, capable, clever. Get a 3-year VRP limited warranty plus a $1,500 cash rebate on 2016 Defender.
Now playing on DirecTV Cinema.
Join the crowd for their musical masterpiece.
Come on.
Okay. It'll be fun.
That won 6 Academy Awards.
Guess I'll see you in the movies.
Rated PG-13. Movies start at Channel 125. Playing on DirecTV Cinema.
The vampire and lichen clans had been at war for centuries, turning our world into a battlefield. Now a new war is being waged.
If you want to win this war, you will have to go further than any warrior has ever ventured before.
Looking for someone?
Underworld Blood Wars. Movies start at Channel 125.
And welcome to the NFL Draft. Come on, Philly, come on. There you go. The NFL Draft for 2017 is officially open with the first pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. The Cleveland Browns select Myles Garrett, defensive end, Texas A&M.
Big things are coming. You know, I didn't just come up, my whole family come up, and I have all of them behind me. I can't let them down.
The Bears come up to number 2. The Chicago Bears select Mitchell Trubisky, quarterback, North Carolina.
Things just got interesting.
I didn't even think I was going to get picked until the commissioner said my name, so it's as surreal as it gets.
The Jacksonville Jaguars select Leonard Fournette, running back, LSU. The New York Jets select Jamal Adams.
They told me that, they wouldn't skip out on me if I was still on the board at 6, and they kept their word. And I promise you, to the Jets fan, I'm going to keep mine too.
The Houston Texans select Deshaun Watson.
I was telling myself not to cry, but I couldn't hold it back. It's just, now I'm finally, introduced into the National Football League. It's humbling, it's a blessing.
With the 20th pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Garrett Bowles, Utah.
The first offensive lineman off the board at 20. And there you see Garrett Bowles with his young son.
The Cleveland Browns select Jabril Peppers, defensive back, Michigan.
Draft day 2017, no matter where you go, if you go or when you go, it's a blessing, baby. Appreciate it.
This is Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
The Cleveland Browns cannot get to the quarterback. So you take a guy that can get to the quarterback.
The Cleveland Browns select Myles Garrett. With the second pick, the Chicago Bears select Mitchell Trubisky.
If Trubisky winds up being a great player, then it'll wind up having been a great move. And we'll never know if they needed to move up to 2 to do it.
Come on, Philly, come on. There you go.
Here's Mike and Mike.
Here we are live in Philadelphia. Mike and Mike, our coverage of the NFL Draft continues. Round 1 last night. The crowds here were huge. Whatever it is you guys did to make sure the weather turned out the way it did was brilliantly executed by all obvious standards, an enormous success. And we have rounds 2 and 3 tonight. Again, ESPN's coverage is 7 Eastern, both on TV and on radio. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and we are delighted to welcome to our set the Commissioner of the NFL, Roger Goodell. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning, Mike.
Glad to be here.
They're actually cheering here. You had to know. I mean, it's so expected now, obviously, at the draft with the booing, especially in Philly, though. And I loved how you kind of called them on to it. Keep it going.
It is part of it, and it's part of the draft. It's part of the experience, and it's fun. We want the fans to come have a good time, and they did.
And boy, they did. What a venue! I mean, this moving around the Super Bowl, which we're going to get into, but here in Philly, this is where I spent most of my career, and watching it last night. Wow, I mean, to stand out there where you were and just see what was in front of you, it just seems like at face value what an overwhelming success.
Well, it is. Having had that perspective looking down there, it's just a sea of people. And, I heard we had a count somewhere close to 100,000 last night, which is incredible. And, I'm sure we're going to do something close to that tonight, if not more. So for us, that's how we evaluate it. Is it really the kind of experience our fans want to have?
And I was going to ask you, and we talked about it just very briefly before we came on, is it as simple in order to describe this as a success as to say there were tons of people, everyone seemed to have a good time, the energy was high, that makes it successful, or are there other metrics, financial metrics, or whatever might come into account afterwards you have to count up to determine this was a successful draft in Philadelphia?
No, I think the only financial metric might be an economic impact on the community, and that's how Philadelphia will look at it. And it's one of the things that we want to deliver for a community is create activity. A lot of people came in from out of town.
And you guys don't charge anything for no ticket?
Not a single ticket is sold. But for us, it's the number of people who show up. It's the number of people, where they come from, how far they come. And do they come in and just engage with the NFL for a couple of days? And, this is like the fix for football in the off season. And I always like to say this is the 3 days that's unique because every team gets better.
Yeah, and for those of us whose teams never win, this is the Super Bowl as far as we're concerned. But now, obviously, Chicago was a huge success, and everyone there loved it, and people here seem to love having this. So there have been reports that there are numerous cities out there clamoring and campaigning. How will you now go about making the decision of where you will go next, and when will that decision be made?
Well, we had 14 cities that were here, just sort of observing, trying to look at this. Why do we want to do this? What do we think we can do? How do we execute on this? And every one of them, because I saw some of them before the draft last night, said, we just can't imagine that this can get bigger than this. But people have some big ideas, and I think the communities are anxious to be creative with it, create a bigger platform, and keep raising the bar every year. We'll evaluate all of this over the next probably month. I would expect decisions sometime early summer, but we have a lot of great choices. That's good news for us. And we just want to figure out what's the next evolution of this, because since we moved out of Radio City, it's changed the event to an extraordinary level, and we want to see if we can keep doing it.
So I guess would the long-term plan be, for lack of a better term, barnstorm and just do it in city to city?
We definitely, Mike. I think for us, being able to share this with other communities and fans is the right way to go. We've seen what the reaction is. A lot of people have talked about, this is a great event for communities that might not be able to host a Super Bowl, that don't have the kind of infrastructure. This is a great event for them. So that's how we're going to look at it, I believe.
All right, Mike and Mike, the Commissioner, Roger Goodell, is here. A variety of things that go on. I'm always curious. Last night, Mitch Trubisky, who's the quarterback who was drafted number 2 as the Bears traded up to get him, said he didn't know. They didn't call him. He didn't get any idea of that. When they hand you the card, you must look at it before you go out there, right? So you knew the trade had been made. Are you in a position where you can make eye contact with him and you know what's coming and he doesn't know? What is that moment like when you get to read that card and you know that this guy is going to be walking up to the stage?
Well, I assume they all know before I actually read it. And I can't believe the team didn't speak to him just before I read the card. But I do not have an opportunity to see them other than prior to the draft. And when I walk out and read it, the first time I see him is when I turn around and he comes down the stairs.
What I really meant to ask you is, were you as surprised as everyone else that the Bears traded up
Not really.
to get Trubisky?
I think when I saw that they made the trade, it was pretty clear to me they were going for a quarterback, and I figured they were going to go for Mitch. And, that's great. And they needed a quarterback. They want a quarterback, and they believe he's the right guy for the future. So
Do you wonder what kind of hug you're going to have from the player after being last year lifted up and just
that
what
won't hurt. They don't realize it, and we talked about it yesterday or the day before when we met as a group. They don't realize the emotion that's going to happen when you've worked all your life to become an NFL player, and it finally happens. You'd be shocked at the emotion that they go through, and so when they come out, they're going to hit you pretty hard because they're really feeling excited.
How about the other side of that? And I don't know where you end up in. I know you're not in the room where they are, but coming to the end of that first round when it's just about over, we always know there's more than a few guys that don't get picked. Did you have any contact with them before that night ends to you'll keep your chin up talk or anything like that? Because that's got to be a pretty tough time for them.
It is a hard thing, and I missed them. I ran upstairs after the draft was over. They had already left, unfortunately, so I didn't get a chance to see some of those guys. But we talked about it on Wednesday when I met with them. I said, some of you may be there after the first round. Even if you're not, when you're not selected and it's 3.5 hours, you feel like it's been 3.5 days. Yeah. And so it's a hard thing. And we want the players to come and celebrate, and it's an important moment, but it also can be disappointing, and you can be uncomfortable. And so we'll move them into another room if they're uncomfortable. We'll give them a chance to sort of just get themselves a little bit more comfortable, and that's what we want them here is to celebrate. So we want players coming.
Mike and Mike, Roger Goodell, the commissioner, is with us. All right, let's run through a couple of things. There were 2 players in this draft that the reports came out fairly late in the process, Jabril Peppers and Reuben Foster, that tested, went down at the combine as positive tests because they had diluted samples. And a lot of people wondered aloud, including Mike, and we were talking about it here this week, is there another way to do that? It leaves uncertainty for the teams and for the players. Some wonder, could they just retest them there in that situation? Is there any cause now to look at the way that particular issue is handled and maybe some changes going forward?
Mike, I always believe we should constantly look at our policies. So if there are ways in which we can improve it that will be more fair to the players, more fair to the teams, so that everyone has the best available information. You're making evaluations on a lot of kids. You're making a big investment, both from a financial standpoint, but also a draft choice. You want to give them the best information. So if we could improve that, absolutely we should.
When is that looked at? Is that what part of the year is? So, okay, you had that, and a guy like Joe Thomas, well-respected player around the league, talks about current players, how they get to retest if it's diluted. But we read the line about pre-employment to the NFL that this is what it is. So but Joe speaks out like that. So when is that evaluated that you're talking about?
Consistently and all year round. There's not a moment, but we would talk to the union about it. We've made periodic changes to our policies on the drug program, and that'd be something we would do. But dilution's also been something that we've been very clear with about, that is a way to escape a positive test. We don't allow that as an excuse.
And plus, on the other side of that, I will say there are levels that players know about of the amount of water you drink when you're going to hit that. And you're certainly, as you're coached on everything else, you're coached on that. Even though we hear about players trying to drink water to gain weight and all those kind of things, you have to know your level.
Absolutely.
Yeah, clearly. Largely, most people don't believe that it happened for the reasons the players are giving.
Because most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time it is for exactly what we think it's for, yes.
Precisely why I would think everyone involved would like to be able to get more clarity. So you're saying that's something that you would have to work through with the union.
Yes.
That would be the collective thing there. With that thought in mind, one of the things that they may be trying to mask is a positive test for marijuana, and that's something that comes up repeatedly now with changes in society. I know you're asked about this all the time. Where do we stand with regard to that? There is an increasing number of players who believe that the use of marijuana for medical purposes or to diminish pain or for whatever other reason is something they would like to see brought into the NFL. Where do you stand on that, and where is that in the process?
Well, Mike, we look at it from a medical standpoint. So if people feel that it has a medical benefit, the medical advisors have to tell you that. And we have joint advisors. We also have independent advisors, both the NFLPA and the NFL. And we'll sit down and talk about that. But we've been studying that through our advisors. To date, they haven't said this is a change we think you should make that's in the best interest of the health and safety of our players. If they do, we're certainly going to consider that. But to date, they haven't They haven't really said that. But as you point out, there are changes in this. Medical marijuana is something that's evolving. And that's something that at some point the medical advisors may come to us and say, this is something you should consider.
Plus, I know the levels have been lowered of positive tests and all that as well. Is it something that you think only that if it has to do with pain management wouldn't be tested for anymore, and not just for the fact that the states are legalizing marijuana, so kind of the stigma of marijuana is kind of disappearing a little bit? Would it ever be just for that reason, or would it only be because, okay, we see an actual benefit to it for pain?
Well, I think you still have to look at a lot of aspects of marijuana use. Is it something that can be negative to the health of our players? And there's still, listen, you're ingesting smoke, so that's not usually a very positive thing that people would say. It does have addictive nature. There are a lot of compounds in marijuana that may not be healthy for the players long term. All of those things have to be considered, and it's not as simple as, someone just wants to feel better after a game. We really want to help our players in that circumstance, but I want to make sure that the negative consequences aren't something that is going to be something that we'll be held accountable for some years down the road.
Roger Goodell is here, the commissioner of the NFL. Another topic that is likely to come up tonight at the draft is that someone will probably draft Joe Mixon, the running back out of Oklahoma, tonight, perhaps the second round, perhaps the third. It's certainly possible that he will fall farther than that. But interestingly, with the decision by the league to involve Ray Rice in the capacity that you have, again, recently, can you take us through that decision, the conversations you've had with him, and the benefit that you hope you will get from his message to players like Joe Mixon and all others?
Well, listen, Ray went through a very difficult time, and he's worked very hard to have a better understanding of how to have a positive relationship. He and his wife have really worked successfully to do that, and as you know, that's something that's an ongoing thing. And he's shown that commitment, and he has talked to a lot of colleges, a lot of high schools, a lot of NFL teams, and he's been very effective in communicating that. And our whole issue here is to educate and to avoid the issue. So if we have someone who can provide some experience and some insight on how to avoid these matters, that's a great thing for our players. And that's what we want, and our coaches and everybody else, all our personnel throughout the NFL, and everybody in the NFL, from the commissioner throughout every other person, has to go through training on an annual basis. And that training is education about how to have a healthy relationship and how to conduct that. And so if we have someone like Ray who can provide some help on that, we're going to certainly engage with it.
What about those who want to make it cut and dry for guys that are in college, like Joe Mixon, who had the assault that he had, and that people just say, don't even make him eligible for the draft? So I don't imagine you can do that.
No, we can't do it independently. It'd be something, obviously, you'd have to be able to do with the union. It's not something I think they would engage in.
Right.
And also, I think, we are a country of second chances when somebody earns it. And so if somebody earns that opportunity by the way they conduct themselves, and they say, listen, I made a mistake and I'm going to fix it, and I'm not going to be involved with this again, and I'm going to be a positive role model in these areas, that's something that I think appeals to all of us.
The one thing that did happen in this particular case is that he was not invited to the combine, and there were the special rules there. I did hear some people say, and this might fall under the law of unintended consequences, that for a player as good as he is, not going to the combine might not actually be punitive. Did you hear a lot of that? I'm assuming that's something that'll be...
Yeah, we have talked about that a lot, Mike, because we had probably 4 or 5 players, I think, that weren't invited. Listen, the real value when you come to a combine, as you know, is the medicals. The second are the interviews that you have with the teams, and those are really valuable. The workout is probably the least valuable of all the aspects of the combine. But the teams, they find it a real value to having them there. So it does have a negative impact. On the other hand, they're going to get probably an opportunity to see them on the campus. They're going to have an opportunity to get some medicals on them. And we want to give that to the teams because it's fair. But we're not going to give someone an opportunity when they've been involved with that kind of behavior and that kind of incidents to be on our platform.
I am firmly on that side because I go to even the other side. There's only X amount of players that are invited to that.
That's right.
And if they're not invited, that means somebody else gets a chance to get in front of these
exactly
teams.
Right.
I think to me that's one of the better things that comes of it. So I am all for if you don't invite a guy to a minicamp.
Roger Goodell is with us here
combine.
To the combine,
Yeah.
particularly with regard to Mixon. It will become an enormous story because of the existence of the video and everything else. Will it be on the team level that will be handled? Does the league have some means of handling this, of working with him, whatever program he might immediately be involved in? Will there be any league involvement of that on top of whatever it is the team will do?
Yeah, we will definitely be involved from the league level as well as the club level in making sure that he understands his responsibility as an NFL player, make sure he understands the resources that are available to him so that he can understand what we expect of him, but also the resources to help him make better choices going forward. So absolutely, we'll be involved as well as a club.
Where are we? You know, we've had the other commissioners on as well, so we always talk about relationships with union as well, and it's still more than a few years before the CBA is up, but that doesn't mean there can't be any conversations or things talked about. Where are things with you and the union, you and DeMorris, and any kind of talk going forward?
Yeah, you know, we have a really healthy relationship. We have a collective bargaining agreement, and think about it. It's a 10-year collective bargaining agreement. Never been done before in sports, but it probably hasn't been done in many industries. And it's worked incredibly well for the players, for the owners, for the game, for our fans. So the agreement that we reached in 2011 has really been very effective. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't things that we might all want to improve on, but when you look at the overall construct of the agreement, it's really been fantastic. So we think there's a strong basis to continue it, and we're willing to engage. We've made that clear. I think there are indications that it is beneficial for both sides, and when they're ready to engage, we'll engage.
I think there's a perception that relationship isn't good. Would you describe that? How would you describe that?
I think people want to focus on the negative. Mike, it's nothing unusual, but you know, the vast majority of things we do, 85-90% of everything we do is not a conflict, but we have different roles. So they represent players when they're in the discipline process. That's fine. That's what they do, and we got it. But at the bottom line, we're working cooperatively. We've seen what's happened to the salary cap over the last 4 or 5 years. Has had historically high increases, so the players are benefiting from that. I think they're benefiting from all the programs we've talked about. And frankly, I think the game's safer and better than it's ever been. And I think that's the work of cooperating with both parties to make the game better.
And then you talk about, you know, tweaking things on the field. Again, we've had the other commissioners on, and all the sports are really doing well now, the major sports. But Rob Manfred talking about different, you know, the smaller things like no 4 pitches and just the automatic walk, maybe down the road, maybe trying to limit relievers and things on the field that will help the game. I know you guys have discussed that as well. Where are you with any other small tweaks, even including up to the celebration, which if you ever do make the video, we want the owners to do the dances that are the right or the wrong dances, but any other like tweaks? We got the kickoff and all that may be on the horizon.
Yeah, I think, you know, our big focus has been over the last year or so is the pace of the game and how we can take the downtime out of the game. We think there's probably 5+ minutes that we can take out, whether it's in replay-related issues. We're bringing the replay to the sideline, centralizing it. We think that'll accelerate that very quickly. We're going to put clocks potentially after the extra point, maybe even after a kickoff, to just try to make sure that we're keeping the pace. And we don't want to give a fan an opportunity to turn away. You got to keep them engaged. But we also see it on the commercial side. We have to stop the number of breaks. So we've had 5 television breaks per quarter. We're going to make it 4. And the 4 will be 30 seconds longer, but in all of our research, no one even noticed it. But they do notice the constant breaks. So we're going to limit that as much as possible so that, you know, every time something great happens on the field, we're going to commercial. We don't want that. In fact, I noticed a little bit at the draft. We're going to start focusing a little bit on the pace of the draft. We can make it, you know, a lot more compelling from a fan standpoint, whether you're in the stadium or whether you're at home on television. Both of those are really important to us. And we have some very specific things that we're going to implement this year that I think will be noticed by the fans.
We talked to you about that briefly that day that you came on after you wrote that letter to the fans. With regard to the draft, if you can arrange 3 teams trading up for quarterbacks in the first round every year, you'll have no problem with that at all. One other thing that I think is interesting to a lot of fans is with the pending move of the Oakland Raiders to Las Vegas, the issue of legalizing sports gambling or whatever the league's relationship is to it. And I'm hearing increasingly from some other commissioners whom I know you talk to regularly that they have a softened stance, if you will, on the issue of legalizing gambling. Where is your head on that right now? Where is the league stance on it right now?
Well, listen, the Raiders are going to be playing in Las Vegas. There clearly is a change, I think, in society with respect to gambling in general. Where we draw a line is when anything can do anything to impact the integrity of the game. And legalized sports betting is something that we're concerned about on that level. So we'll remain opposed to that. But, we're obviously recognizing what's going on in the society, and we're going to have to adapt policies from time to time. But we think this is something that protecting that integrity of the game is critical.
Blackjack tables in the suites, would that be something that possibly could work?
Don't think that's going to happen.
I had to ask. That's my game of choice. So.
The number that I have here, by the way, Hembo sent us a number, and he is a native of the area. The capacity of Lincoln Financial Field is a little over 69,000 people. Estimated that you had over 70,000. So if this is the way to look at it, you sold out the draft last night in Philadelphia, and we'll see if it continues this evening.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming here. Congratulations on what seems to be a huge success here in Philadelphia. Good to see you as always.
These guys deserve the credit.
Absolutely. The Commissioner Roger Goodell with us here, Mike and Mike live in Philly, brought to you in part by Ford Commercial Vehicles. We'll continue coming up next. He is the quarterback of your Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz will be here right after this word from 1-800-Flowers. Mike, when families get together, all the stories seem to always center around Mom. This Mother's Day, celebrate Mom and all the joy and the laughter that she brings with a gorgeous bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. And right now, 1-800-Flowers giving our listeners an exclusive 36 for 36 offer. You can get 36 sorbet roses for just $36. That's only $1 a rose. Pick your delivery date, and 1-800-Flowers will handle the rest.
Great mix of pastel shades in pink, orange, and lavender. Roses are guaranteed to make her smile. 1-800-Flower roses are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. 36 roses, $36. It expires today, though. You want to order 36 sorbet roses for $36? Go to 1-800-Flowers.com. Click the radio icon, enter the code Mike. That's 1-800-Flowers.com. The code is Mike. The offer ends today. Back after this, Mike.
Anyone can say fresh, but Wendy's does fresh. Like the new fresh mozzarella chicken sandwich and salad, made with fresh chopped produce, freshly grilled chicken, and of course, fresh mozzarella cheese. So try Wendy's new fresh mozzarella chicken sandwich and salad today.
This is Brooks Yard with ugly bare spots. But Scott's Easy Seed changes everything. Our finest grass seed, plus quick start fertilizer and natural super absorbent mulch, grow grass anywhere. Guaranteed. This is a Scott's Yard.
Changing your oil after 3,000 miles?
Kevin Harvick.
If you'd use new Mobil 1 annual protection, you wouldn't have to. You protect your engine for 1 year with just one oil change.
Don't change your oil. New Mobil 1 annual protection.
You totaled your brand new car. Nobody's hurt, but there will still be pain. It comes when your insurance company says they'll only pay 3/4 of what it takes to replace it. What are you supposed to do? Drive 3/4 of a car? Now, if you had Liberty Mutual new car replacement, you'd get your whole car back. I guess they don't want you driving around on 3 wheels. Smart.
With Liberty Mutual new car replacement, we'll replace the full value of your car. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Oh, I just bought a hybrid car, this Ioniq that you see.
Who knew that it would be the perfect ride for me? It sips the fuel, the tech is cool, this baby really goes. Everybody loves it, from my ladies
to my bros.
You know, the world didn't need another hybrid. It needed a better hybrid. Introducing the Hyundai Ioniq, the most fuel-efficient car in America.
If you believe life starts where the blacktop ends, if the power of an engine makes your heart race, don't settle for anything less than Polaris RZR, the ultimate off-road vehicle. with unequaled power, unrivaled suspension, and unmatched agility, all perfectly combined to help you chase down what matters most. Polaris RZR. We fuel your freedom. And now's the time to get up to $2,000 cash back during the Polaris Spring Sales Event.
Wendy's Double Stack is still an option in the 4-for-4. With a quarter pound of fresh beef, that's a deal so good it should not exist. Like how owls shouldn't be able to turn their heads all the way around.
Whew, wouldn't like that deal.
The Double Stack and the 4-for-4. A deal so great, it's impossibly good, but not for long.
What do you see? A clinch or a comeback? Resolve or a resurgence? Desperation or a new contender? 3 Game 6s tonight on ESPN and ESPNU.
'Twas the night before the draft, and as this crew knows, the season may depend on which players teams chose. So please join us here, it's that time again. The NFL Draft continues tonight at 7 on ESPN.
Get you on April Fool's Day? Well, I went to buy a car and the salesman tells me I get 0 financing with 0 down and 0 for 90 days. I said, wow, I'll take it. He says, April Fools. Really? He ended up being the fool. I left and got it all at Al Piemonte Nissan.
Chicagoans know the deals at Al Piemonte Nissan are no joke. Lease a new 17 Nissan Sentra S for only $99 per month, or a new 17 Rogue S for only $129 per month. Chicagoland knows Al Piemonte
Nissan.
Parents of children with cerebral palsy. If you suspect a medical mistake may have occurred at or near the time of birth, call Science and Kirk for a free legal consultation. Financial compensation may be available for children diagnosed with cerebral palsy, Erb's palsy, or another birth injury. A lifetime of medical care can cost millions of dollars. Protect your child and find out what legal rights may be available.
Call 1-800-997-6920.
Now, here's Mike and Mike's Sounds of the Week.
This should be a fun week.
I beg to differ.
It isn't about what you think.
Nope.
It isn't about what I think.
Nope.
It's about what they think.
I don't believe that either.
This just gets worse and worse.
Crazy.
No Googling.
People are Googling right now.
Now we're playing poker.
No.
Derek Jeter is like the Fonz, but he's real.
The comparison of a moped and a dirt bike is Frisbee football in the NFL.
We used to ride around on our mopeds. We called ourselves the Mopac.
That is truly impressive.
We dreamt about having like a girl on the back.
Ever have a girl on the back of it?
I did not.
Yeah.
No.
Uncomfortable.
I did one time have had a hamster in the back there.
That's unbelievable.
I had a hamster when I was growing up, Peppy, and a habit trail.
Peppy. You never went Pepe?
I did not. It was Peppy.
Oh, you actually had a spelling for...
I did.
Yeah, I really stopped listening.
Pardon me.
You got a moped, rode with your Mopac, you try and get women to ride on the back and be cool. You had Pepe, your hamster.
Peppy, yeah.
Pepe, your hamster.
Correct.
Bungee corded to the back of your moped.
Well, that's about right, yeah.
Loser.
Quinoa can actually be a delight. You should use it
if
instead
I
of rice.
dress it up with a steak? Cheese and...
Well, I mean, you can mix it with cheese.
Butter.
You can mix it with... well, you've taken a lot of the health. You would love it.
Not happening.
Anyway, I think we got very sidetracked from what...
Well, there's a stunner. Well, we happen to have the picture of you on that moped that I would just like to show everybody.
Yeah.
That thing looks like basically a bicycle with a motor.
That's probably basically what it was. It was a Honda Express 2. The worst part of it is that every word of that was true. Look, a special guest has made his way here. It's the Philly Fanatic. Oh! And he just planted a big kiss right on Golik's face.
Wow, I think I got a little tongue there.
And the Philly Fanatic is disavowing himself of that. I mean, that was just terrible.
I'm actually pretty happy with our effort right there.
The lesson in all of this is you should do as Greeny does.
Okay, it all tied together nicely.
My moped was cool.
For more Mike and Mike, check out the podcast on the ESPN app.
Mike and Mike, our check of SportsCenter headlines. The Cleveland Browns took Myles Garrett, number 1 in the NFL draft last night, and then everything that followed that was crazy. Rounds 2 and 3 will be tonight. Coverage starts 7 Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Radio. NBA playoffs last night. The Spurs and the Raptors both win Game 6s on the road. They both move on to Round 2. And in Round 2, Game 1 of their NHL playoff series, the Penguins beat the Capitals with Sidney Crosby scoring 2 goals. And SportsCenter with Mike and Mike is brought to you by Pandora.
Mother's Day is coming up. Pandora Jewelry can help you find the perfect gift. Shop Shop rings, bangles, charms, earrings, or necklaces at Pandora Jewelry, and you can give your mom something meant just for her. Celebrate this Mother's Day and shop Pandora Jewelry now.
We're told that Carson Wentz is on his way here, so we'll talk for a bit, and then we'll be able to welcome the quarterback of the Eagles, who last year was the second pick in the draft as a quarterback that a team traded a lot to go get. We saw it happen again last night with Mitchell Trubisky. It didn't happen on the clock last year with Wentz, but the circumstances still somewhat similar. In talking with the commissioner, Roger Goodell, a few different things that come out of that. He knows, and you know, and you and I agree in our belief in the legalization of sports gambling.
Yes.
I think that the positives of it would outweigh the potential minuses of it. We had a chance, he and I, to chat a little bit after he was on the air as well. I do think it's something that will eventually happen. I understand the concern about integrity of your sport. That is the mortality of all of these sports. But I think it's going that way. I feel like the NBA is sort of pushing it. It's something they want to run forward with, and the NFL, I think, will sit and see what happens.
It wouldn't be shocking if the NFL would be the last one to buy in, right? Didn't you kind of get that feeling?
From him, I did.
Yes.
Yeah. I would think it's about the same level of concern for all of them, right?
Sure it is. You're always concerned when you say gambling in pro sports. I mean, the smell test is just, ooh, that could be bad. But, the reality of it, of where we are in legalized gambling as the billions in, illegal gambling that's going on. I'm with you in the direction that it should go, but I think it just takes a while to get there. Just like it took a while to finally get pro teams in Las Vegas and get past that stigma. Now we have two. Right away we have two. You get hockey and you get the NFL. So it's like anything else, it's making progress.
As far as the conversation about where the draft will go, he said that they don't make any money on this, really. The city makes money on it, and they're looking to bring...
Don't charge tickets, but they get a lot of, obviously, people coming in town.
And that's how they'll determine the success of this. They had 14 cities here last night looking at it that will make pitches, and they'll figure out, he believes, sometime at the beginning of the summer where they'll go. I love these fans. They jump in on things like this. Dale tweets, how about the team that wins the Super Bowl gets to host the NFL draft?
How about that?
They need a little more lead time than that.
Yeah.
Another Bill tweets, I think the best way to decide what city holds the draft, give it to the losing team of the previous year's Super Bowl. That's also not going to work. James, on another topic of pace of game, and that's something that when the league sent that letter out to its fans, Roger came on with us, and we talked about it. James tweets, don't speed the game up too much. Many use those breaks to hit the bathroom. Stadium lines can be really long. There is value in those breaks.
There is value, but a lot of times it's not so much time as we talk about of minutes to save, but how the game is perceived. Is it moving along? That's what we talk about in baseball as well. It can be a longer game, but if it's moving along, it doesn't seem as long. And I think that's what they're trying to do, speed things up. I think the toughest thing from a break standpoint in football is the touchdown, the extra point, the commercial. You come back to kick off the commercial. That's just like, oh. So if there are ways to seem like you're not gone as much, I think that's a good goal to have.
I just got sent the television rating on ESPN for the draft last night. It was up a little bit from last year. It's not a huge rise, but it is a rise, and these days anything that goes up is a big deal. Last year, round one of the NFL draft on ESPN did a rating of 4.67, and last night did 4.81. So that's up. I can't do the percentage for you, but
up is up.
It's up a little.
Little or big, it's still up. But I just think the way to put it is the NFL created what you could deem a good problem. This is successful, moving the draft around. There's no doubt it's successful, and it's going to keep happening. And I think one of the remedies, or one of the things that the commissioner talked about, is a good idea for football cities that don't have the infrastructure to host a Super Bowl. This is a good thing for them to have as well. So you could maybe see it leaning towards some of those cities as well. But as I said, not all problems are bad problems, and this could be a good one, is you're kind of picking the litter on where you want to have the draft.
We're Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, swinging it back to what happened last night. For those of you who may just be joining us, again, Myles Garrett went number one, the defensive end, to Cleveland, and then just all insanity broke loose. The Bears trade up from 3 to 2 to take the quarterback, Mitch Trubisky. 3 quarterbacks wind up going in trades in the top 12. 3 wide receivers wind up going in the top top 9. We thought it was going to be defense heavy at the top. It was not. It was offense heavy at the very top. So it was a very interesting and unpredictable night.
Which is good. You know, the days of when the first pick of the draft's deal was already done, I'm glad is a thing of the past. I'm glad the networks, you know, NFL Network and ESPN really they came together to decide not to say we know the pick before the pick comes out. You know, I like that that's not, so you have a little bit of intrigue. As far as the draft itself, yeah, the quarterbacks, 3 of them going in the top 12 was surprising, all 3 for trades. But again, it's the quarterback position, so we shouldn't be totally shocked at anything that happens with the quarterback. I think the 3 wide receivers going in the top 10 may be as stunning to me. The quarterback will always get the lion's share of the talk, but 3 receivers at 5, 7, and 9, and then the drop of the Alabama players from O.J. Howard to Jonathan Allen to Reuben Foster for a team and a program that has had some of the best players, you know, coming out and where these guys were projected and where they ended up going, I think were some surprising things.
Yeah, I would say the quarterback stuff didn't really surprise me. The receivers stunned me.
Me too. I was more for the quarterback thing. While I disagreed with some of the moves on why they were done, it's the quarterback. And if you hit, then everything is well worth it. So you have to wait and see. But I really think I was more surprised first that Corey Davis went first. I guess that's not overly stunning. It was kind of back and forth with him and Mike Williams. But then 2 picks later, Mike Williams, and 2 picks later, John Ross. I was really amazed.
I would like to talk some of the Bears fans off a ledge. I know people in Chicago are upset with the deal. Many of them don't buy Trubisky. Some, even if they do like the pick, think they could have easily just stayed at 3 and gotten him. The only answer to that is we'll never know. Was there someone else who was willing to trade up to 2 with John Lynch in San Francisco and grab him if the Bears didn't? Obviously, the Bears believed that was the case. They believed they had to go get them at number 2.
Hitting on the quarterback's the most important thing, so they took a chance to do that. But what some people see is what else happened right in front of us. And what happened last year with a safety? With a guy who kind of took the safety league by storm, Landon Collins, right, from the Giants. Had a monster year and an impact on that defense, right? And so Jamal Adams is thought of as the best safety, a guy you could plug in there and he's there forever, and you say, wow, that could be really great for our defense. But it just, unfortunately, it pales to hitting on a quarterback. And it pales to the chance sometimes you have to take in trying to hit on a quarterback, and that's exactly what the Bears are doing.
Yeah, so I don't know that we know it was a bad move to go up and get him. It certainly was a risky move, but it was a decisive one, and I would think there would be something at least about that you would like a little bit. And then as far as the other thing quickly that we mentioned with the commissioner about the players that don't get drafted and how tough that can be on them, that is one byproduct of moving this to where it's all just one night, and then you wait a night until rounds 2 and 3. In the old days, Mike, when you and I used to do the draft, they would have round 1, 2, and 3 on the same day.
So
there were no players coming to the draft who weren't going to get picked in that time. So that is, look, this is probably something a lot of fans like to watch. You're creating more drama. You're seeing the anguish on the faces of these young men, and the league does take them into a private room if they want that. So they aren't being, if they feel humiliated by it, they don't feel humiliated on TV.
It's got to be tough. It's got to be tough. And then all I have to say to them is they're all going to probably, the ones that were left in the room tonight, go off the board today. I can just go to them and say, hey, would you like to be in the 10th round?
Yeah.
Which means you're an undrafted free agent today. You know, there's always something a little worse.
Oh, of course. Speaking of the draft, coming up next, Carson Wentz will join us, the quarterback of the hometown Philadelphia Eagles. Last year he went number 2 overall. We're looking forward to talking with him here after this word from AutoZone. Mike, NASCAR racing at 200 miles an hour just got even more impressive thanks to the Duralast GT brake pads from AutoZone.
If you drive fast, you better be able to stop fast, not to mention all the cool burnouts and donuts. They're engineered with a V-slot design carbon fiber technology that reduces wear and increases stopping power, which makes them race ready. They're the official brakes of NASCAR. New Duralast GT brake pads, proven tough from the tracks to the streets and sold only at AutoZone. Get his own. AutoZone. Back after this. Mike Evans.
Hey, you'll want to sit down for this, because you can get a large 2-topping Pizza Hut pizza for $7.99 delivered, which you can reorder using the Hut Seat. Okay, that thing's ridiculous. Simply reorder on your phone with just a few clicks. It's the easiest way to order. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
Get up, we're going out. Dude, I made Totino's pizza rolls.
Pizza rolls!
Pizza rolls!
Pizza rolls!
Eat us! Okay.
Totino's Pizza Rolls. And try Totino's Pizza Sticks.
7 ingredients. Wonder what they are.
Corrosion inhibitor.
Solvent fluid.
Demulsifier.
Fuel detergent number 1.
Fuel detergent number 2.
Anti-adhesion compound.
And marker molecules.
Get better gas mileage with Synergy. Exxon and Mobil. Energy lives here.
My daughter is studying to be a dentist, and she gave me advice. She said, Dad, go pro with Crest Pro Health.
4 out of 5 dentists confirm these Crest Pro Health products help maintain a professional clean.
Crest Pro Health really brought my mouth to the next level.
Go pro with Crest Pro Health.
First, they're sharp blades. Then, shielding lubrication. And cooling. Brrr. With lubrication before and after the blades. Shields and cools while you shave. Pro Shield Chill from Gillette.
Once there was a little pig that had built his house out of straw. One day, a big bad wolf huffed and he puffed and blew the house down. Luckily, the Geico Insurance Agency had helped the pig with homeowner's insurance. He had replacement cost coverage, so his house was rebuilt good as new. The big bad wolf now has a job on a wind farm. Call Geico and see how easy it is to switch and save on homeowner's insurance.
It's time for the Can-Am Spring Fever sales event. Get a cash rebate of up to $3,000 on selected models, or get the Outlander L starting at $54.99. Visit your local dealer for details. Can-Am, the ride says it all.
Hey, you'll want to sit down for this, because you can get a large 2-topping Pizza Hut pizza for $7.99 delivered, which you can reorder using the Hut seat. Okay, that thing's ridiculous. Simply reorder on your phone with just a few clicks. It's the easiest way to order. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
As we proceed to give you what you need.
Might you take a role with the Lakers?
If I'm Jimmy Garoppolo, I want to be the heir to the throne. That boy can have his own money.
All right.
You drive a Maserati. I got paper too.
Okay, and I'm happy to take it.
Man, we playing Donald with Ice Cube.
You got to do it. But here's the thing is that if you're the type of person that dishes it out, you better be the type of person that can take it. No, we don't. See, you just...
This season, create your own game day experience with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV. Watch every out-of-market game every Sunday, no matter where you are, and stream them your way, live on your favorite devices. Never miss a second of the action. Order NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV.
Amazing. Cooper tires on the ground, go round and round, round and round, round and round. Tires on the car are warranty. And what you need, the tires on the car help keep you safe. They grip the road when you hit the brakes.
Your tires matter. So count on Cooper, an American company since 1914.
Tires on the ground, go round and round.
Mike and Mike, we continue live from Philadelphia. Carson Wentz, the quarterback of the Eagles, will join us in 2 minutes up here. The Twitter is already asking of him. Michael tweets, Carson Wentz is class personified. I'm glad he's on my team. He's a true leader for the team, not a numbers guy. I like that. JR tweets.
You know, I heard he's not that good of a guy.
Really? Yeah, well, we'll get a chance to ask him when he joins us up here. If only he was sitting 1 foot away. JR tweets, hey, Wentz, I need that Eagles football on the Mike and Mike set. Please sign it and send it to me. And Tim Gunn says, how about giving the draft to the city with the first pick? 2 problems with that. One of them is, again, they have to determine this, the commissioner said, by the beginning of the summer.
Yeah, you definitely need to know that, yeah.
The other is that last year the team with the first pick didn't to make the first pick, right? Eventually that we can see that first pick traded, so you don't know if that's going to work out.
Put parameters on it, but I do think one that will prevail a bit will be cities that don't have the infrastructure for a Super Bowl, because that's how it would be the biggest event for a city. If you can't hold that, then to have this draft, the 3 days of what it can bring, and all you need to see is the over overview of last night here in Philadelphia of what it looked like.
By infrastructure, and I should have asked this more specifically, are we basically talking about a dome stadium in a cold city? They've had a Super Bowl in Jacksonville. It's comparatively a small city.
Yeah, and the weather wasn't great there.
No, but it's not a place where you're expecting it to snow. We did have the
I think
outdoor
if it was
Super
the
Bowl in
old
New York.
stadium years ago in Minnesota, I don't think we'd be having the Super Bowl.
That's what I mean. I guess my point is, what else are we talking about when we say the infrastructure?
But we did have it in New York.
That's what I mean. It's the one time that we've had it. The point I'm making is I should have asked him, is that all you mean by the infrastructure to host the Super Bowl?
We should have got the definition of their infrastructure, and I should have got a better answer on the new stadium in Vegas not having blackjack tables in the suites.
I know that's
seriously.
The one thing that
what's wrong with that?
That you're disappointed about. It would have been fun. All right, we'll pause 10 seconds, and then Carson Wentz will join us from wherever it is he's sitting right now. Mike and our Sports Center is brought to you by Uber. Enjoy the power of earning extra money whenever you want. Get your side hustle on, drive with Uber. No one will tell you when to come in or ask you to work late. It's a great fit for anyone. The schedule is always changing. Sign up today at uber.com/drive now. And I'm glad we managed to get him all the way over here finally. He is the quarterback of the hometown Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz is on our set. Good morning, Carson.
Good morning. How are we doing, guys?
Doing well. Long time. Carson and I had an event last night, and Zach Ertz and Ryan Shazier from the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we had a nice time last night hanging out and chatting a little bit.
Yep. Very good. Obviously, a very different experience for you at the draft this year than it was a year ago.
I found out just exactly, obviously a young man and obviously an old man. When one guy came up to take a picture, it encapsulated it perfectly. Some guy probably in his 40s, something like that, pointed to Carson and said, "My son loves you." Pointed to me and said, "My father loves you." I'm like, okay, there you go right there. That says it all.
That did happen.
That is hilarious. All right, let's talk about what these young quarterbacks who got drafted last night, first and foremost, are in for. You were the second pick in the draft. A team traded a lot up to go get you. Now, it happened last night on the clock with the Bears, so a different circumstance. We saw 3 quarterbacks go in the first 12 picks. Give us a sense of what they have to look forward to over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time for those guys. Happy for them, but every situation is going to be different. Some of them might be expected to play right away, might have time to wait. I was expected to wait, and then obviously how all that unfolded. But at the same time, they just got to go in and learn. Be themselves, win that locker room over, and but don't put too much pressure on themselves at the same time.
And you're right. These 3 aren't expected to contribute right away, and you weren't. And as you talked about last night, 6 days you had to kind of say, okay, I'm the man now. But how was it that first time when you were in the situation where you didn't think it was going to happen right away? And then for these guys, when you get handed that playbook, is it really, while you played quarterback a lot your life, is it really like a different language?
So for me, we were a pro-style offense, very, kind of West Coast in college. So it wasn't that overwhelming, but it is a new language, so to speak. But schematically and everything kind of carried over. But all these guys are coming from different offenses, so it'll be interesting to see how they all pick up on that.
I've read a lot about some of the things you felt you needed to work on, self-evaluation during this offseason. For those in our audience who don't know, what is it that when you look back on your first season, which had a lot of good success in it, that you look back on and said, that's what I'm working on this offseason?
I think the biggest thing specifically was just footwork and being consistent with that, being comfortable within the pocket at times, and then also just timing within routes. I think last year I didn't have a chance really to work with the ones very much. Like you mentioned, I had 8 days to prepare for that week 1 start. So just getting the timing with these receivers, putting in the work in this offseason, I'm really looking forward to that.
With having to go through a year in professional football, now when you look back, what can you say is, this is the one biggest thing I learned about being a professional football player?
Learned that it's hard to win in this league. I learned that pretty
Coming
quick.
from 4 championships in college.
Five.
I'm sorry.
No,
I slighted you one.
But I learned that it's hard to win. We were, I don't know what the numbers were, 1-7 or something in close games, under 7 points or something like that. And that's frustrating. It's frustrating, but you realize, every team brings it every week, and there's a lot of ability up here in this league, so it's tough to win.
The Eagles brought you in some help this offseason in the form of Alshon Jeffrey and some other moves that they've made that a lot of people will have even greater expectations. Give us a sense of how those relationships start to develop. When can you start work?
Yeah.
I know there's all these restrictions. What kind of work can you do with them, and when does that begin?
Yeah, we actually started last week with OTAs and everything. So I'm really excited for those guys. Signing them was exciting for the whole organization. Obviously on the field, they've both kind of demonstrated and proven themselves, but at the same time, they're both veterans, so that'll help a lot of our young receivers. That'll help that room get some leadership in there, and I'm looking forward to it.
They always say there's a major jump for those quarterbacks, really for everybody. What we focus on the quarterbacks in that year 1 to year 2. What do you think for you will be the biggest jump you made?
I think just consistency. I think one of the biggest things as a team, myself included, is in the red zone. I think we struggled in the red zone, and that's something I always take pride in, and scoring touchdowns, not kicking field goals, and we struggled with that. So that's one thing I really want to improve on.
That's where quarterbacks ultimately make their money, right? In the red zone, late game situations, situational football, all that sort of thing. Is that something that you can work on during the off season, those circumstances, or is that something that has to really wait until you have your entire team around you?
You can work on it a little bit. Watching tape's a big part of it, but then just working on the routes and the timing with the receivers. But you're always in practice once we get started here soon. Just situational football. Just working on situational football and being smart and executing is a big part of it.
A lot of people asked these guys last night, do you watch the draft or care about what's going on in the draft? You're just 1 year out of being in the draft, so you, I'm sure, keep an eye on it a bit. What did you guys went defense, so it really doesn't affect your side of the ball, but it affects your team.
No doubt. No, it's exciting. Actually, once we drafted Derek, I went and pulled up his highlights and stuff, and he's dynamic. Yeah. He's a game changer there at defensive end. I'm glad he's on my team and not in our division, I'll tell you that much. But I'm excited for him. It's cool for him, especially getting drafted in Philadelphia, the draft being here. So it's an exciting time for him, but I hope he's ready to get to work.
Carson Wentz is with us today in part on behalf of Courtyard. What's the program you're working on with them?
Yeah, I'm here with Courtyard, the official hotel of the NFL. Actually got an appearance later today at 1 o'clock over there at the draft experience at the Courtyard area. So fans will come up and I'll meet some fans. They have some cool interactive games and different things going on. So I get a chance to be with some fans.
That's a neat area over there.
Have you been? I didn't.
Yeah, I was over there yesterday.
Got to be packed over there, fans, and the weather has turned out extremely well. The weather part of this is the one piece you can never forecast. Right. Not to use the pun there, and it's obviously turned out extraordinarily well. Quickly, Forward Thinking brought to you by Kabbage, who created a simple way for businesses to get flexible access to up to $100,000. It's Kabbage with a K. Forward Thinking coming up tonight, rounds 2 and 3 of the NFL Draft. Coverage starts 6:30 Eastern here on ESPN Radio. Tomorrow, Cubs and Red Sox coverage starts 3 Eastern.
So the important question, do you have a favorite cheesesteak and or tasty cake here? Those are obviously the important questions. Or are you one of these guys that doesn't eat the,
I try and stay away from a little bit just because I know they're not healthy for you, but I've definitely had some. I do like it with the Cheese Whiz. I know that much.
There you go.
But I don't have a favorite spot yet. I haven't tried them all out quite yet.
That's okay. That's all right. I think trying all the different areas.
Maybe I should ask you. I mean, you might be familiar with the cheesesteaks a little bit.
We'll go on a little cheesesteak tour, my friend.
All right, there we go.
We could do that.
Now we're talking.
Like a religion for him. And then finally, the really important thing, what sort of outdoorsy thing did you do during this off-season? I'm always fascinated by your outdoorsy kind of activities.
For sure. I was fortunate enough my brother and I went to New Zealand, actually, and we were hunting over there for a week. It was about a month ago. It was incredible. One of the most beautiful places, probably the most beautiful place I've ever been, and being able to hunt over there, get to spend some time with my brother and everything, it was really cool.
I'm sure after the show you would like Greeny to hang out.
I'd like a few tips on that if I could. I was thinking of doing some hunting in Auckland during my next vacation. Anyway, Carson, thank you so much for coming by. We really appreciate it. And most importantly, we need to say thank you to everybody in Philadelphia. This has been a great couple of days for us. Thank you for all coming out to see us. Thank you for being lined up here in the morning before we even got started. Go like a homecoming for the former Eagle.
Time to go eat.
See everybody. See you Monday. Mike and Mike.
Get in the game with Cricket Wireless. We've got more 4G LTE coverage than T-Mobile or Sprint. And if you switch now, you can get a brand new smartphone for free with plans that start at only $30 per month. Cricket Wireless. Something to smile about.
Experience a world of exceptional performance. It's Steel Dealer Days. Pick your power, fuel, or battery and get great values on Steel handheld blowers or hardworking grass trimmers. Remember, Steel products are only sold by servicing dealers. Steel Dealer Days are happening now. Search STIHL or visit steeldealers.com.
Garden weeds are scoundrels. With Roundup Precision Gel, you can banish them without harming plants nearby. So draw the line. Give the stick one click, touch the leaves, and the gel stays put, killing garden weeds to the root. Draw the line with Roundup Precision Gel.
Hit escape with great deals on great gear, like Bass Pro Canopy chairs for under $20. Only at Bass Pro Shops.
Get that spring flooring project done with deals from Lumber Liquidators. This week, get Woodlook waterproof flooring up to 24% off and 10% off engineered hardwood and engineered bamboo. More deals from 69 cents, plus special financing. Get deals on the perfect floor at Lumber Liquidators today.
The end of civilization is upon us. Hold your loved ones close.
It's now or never. Come hold me tight. Kiss me, my darling. Tomorrow. It's now or never.
The Celtics feel the number one team from the is whether or not John Wall can carry the Wizards. From the Newswire that there has been a major incident in London.
A sandstorm is now overtaking London.
Authorities are now considering the extraordinary possibility that the
Get down, fun up, feel good. Ooh.
Liberty Mutual stood with me when this guy got a flat tire in the middle of the night.
Hold on, Dad. Liberty did what?
Yeah, Liberty Mutual 24-hour roadside assistance helped him to fix his flat so he could get home safely.
My dad says our insurance doesn't have that. Don't worry, I know what a lug wrench is, Dad. Is this a lug wrench?
Maybe.
You can leave worry behind when Liberty stands with you. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Why pause a spontaneous moment? Cialis for daily use treats ED and the urinary symptoms of BPH. Tell your doctor about your medicines and ask if your heart is healthy enough for sex. Do not take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain or Adempas for pulmonary hypertension, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Do not drink alcohol in excess. To avoid long-term injury, get medical help right away for an erection lasting more than 4 hours. If you have a sudden decrease or loss of hearing or vision or an allergic reaction, stop taking Cialis and get medical help right away. Ask your doctor about Cialis.
This weekend, don't miss Golden Corral's Meat Lovers Spectacular, featuring grilled sirloin topped with savory shrimp and premium hand-carved beef short ribs. Choose from over 150 buffet favorites, all for one low price. It's the Meat Lovers Spectacular, only at Golden Corral.
Previously on Mike and Mike.
We are delighted to welcome to our set the Commissioner of the NFL, Roger Goodell. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning,
Mike.
Glad to be here. They're actually cheering here. You had to know. I mean, it's so expected now, obviously, at the draft with the booing, especially in Philly, though. And I loved how you kind of called them on to it. Keep it going.
It is part of it, and it's part of the draft. It's just part of the experience, and it's fun.
To stand out there where you were and just see what was in front of you, it just seems like at face value, what an overwhelming success.
Well, it is. Having had that perspective looking down there, it's just a sea of people. This is like the fix for football in the off season, and I always like to say this is 3 days that's unique because every team gets better.
Two players in this draft, the reports came out fairly late in the process, Jabril Peppers and Reuben Foster, that tested, went down at the combine as positive tests because they had diluted samples. Is there any cause now to look at the way that particular issue is handled and maybe some changes going forward?
You're making evaluations on a lot of kids. You're making a big investment, both from a financial standpoint, but also a draft choice. you want to give them the best information.
One of the things that they may be trying to mask is a positive test for marijuana, and that's something that comes up repeatedly now. Where do you stand on that, and where is that in the process?
Well, Mike, we look at it from a medical standpoint. So if people feel that it has a medical benefit, the medical advisors have to tell you that.
The stigma of marijuana is kind of disappearing a little bit. Would it ever be just for that reason, or would it only be because, okay, we see an actual benefit to it for pain?
It does have addictive nature. There are a lot of compounds in marijuana that may not be healthy for the players long term. All of those things have to be considered, and it's not as simple as, someone just wants to feel better after a game. We really want to help our players in that circumstance, but I want to make sure that the negative consequences aren't something that is going to be something that we'll be held accountable for some years down the road.
For more Mike and Mike, check out the podcast on the ESPN app.
Separation's in the preparation.
I don't want anything with the word coach in it.
I'm a competitor.
Well, maybe these pants with these shoes, they almost bring tears to my eyes. Wow.
We all speak the same language when we watch sports.
It's not official unless I win a Super Bowl.
That's a big deal.
Go! No!
What's been the most fun part of the season for you?
Winning.
Morning, everybody. I'm Hannah Storm. The Spurs and Raptors both advance in the NBA playoffs. How they'll fare in the conference semis, and 3 teams facing elimination tonight. The Bulls, Clippers, and Hawks, how they can take their series to a Game 7. And round 1 of the